Hello everyone, this is Professor Robert Solis. Welcome to this next video lesson. So the idea is to create a program that will display ascending numbers based on a user number and the next 10 numbers. So for example, if the user enters the number 7, so that'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I said the next 10 numbers, that's actually inaccurate. A total of 10 numbers starting from the user number, and that's what we're going to display on the form. Of course, this symbol over here represents a space. This is a sample of what it would look like. Here's the deal. You've got to create a sub, and that sub has to receive a parameter. The name of the sub must be called display 10 numbers. The argument that I am sending to display 10 numbers must be called user parameter. All right, so the goal of the sub is to create a sequential list like you see over here based on the user input, and that it'll display that result onto the list. Okay, so let me go back over here to Visual Studio, and I've already created the form. This is txt user num, this is btn submit, this is lbl result. I'm going to go ahead and double click on the label so that I can see the code area, and the first thing I'm going to do is to start off with my comments of declarations, get user input, and then we have the calculation section, and then output. Let me go ahead and create a sub, and the name of that sub is, let's see here, display 10 numbers. Okay, so display 10 numbers. And it looks like I'm going to be sending by val, which means copy and paste. I'm going to be sending by val a parameter called user par. Okay, so user par as an integer, because that's what the user is entering. The user is entering an integer. I want that integer so that I can use that to display my 10 numbers. All right. Now what I need to do is I need to create a variable. I'm going to be going through a loop here, so I'll create a variable called counter as integer. And I'm also going to be displaying or creating an output string, because this thing is eventually going to be set to, let's say for example, if it's 7, then it's going to have a 7 space 8 space 9 space dot 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 space 16, right? So that's what this output string will eventually contain. But I set it to nothing at first. Then within a while statement, actually before I do that, I'll say the counter is going to be assigned whatever the user parameter is. Now I can go ahead and create a while statement. While that counter, now let's see here, it has to be, does it have to be less than or equal to or just less than whatever the user parameter is plus 10? Let's see here, because remember, we want to display a total of 10 numbers, including that number. So if the user number is 7, as is in this example, then I want to display from 7 to 16. Okay, so how far shall I go? So if the counter starts off with the user parameter number being assigned to counter, so if that's 7, is 7 less than 16? Okay, so what I can do is say whatever that user number is, which is 7 in this particular case. 7 plus 10 is 17. So as long as it's less than 17, I'm going to get from this 7 to 16. So that's why I should not say this, because it'll actually include the 17. We don't want that. We just want to the 16. Okay, so what will happen is the output will be appended. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to append whatever the value is. So let me convert dot to string, whatever the value is of counter. Then I'm going to append a space. Then I'm going to take counter and increment it by 1. So what this little chunk of code does is it starts off with the user number. Let's say it's 7. Okay, is 7 less than 17? It is. So let's take the output, which is originally nothing. Let's take that 7, send it or append it to the output, and also append a space. Then this counter is going to make 7 8. Is 8 less than 16? Yes. So this is going to append the number 8 and a space to the variable output, and then this will go to 9, and so forth and so on. So what this thing does is it creates a string of numbers, a string of 10 numbers, starting from the user number. Now that we've done that, we are going to output the result with a label. So that means LBL result is going to simply be whatever the variable output is. Well, in order for this thing to work, I've got to call this function. So over here, I'll have declarations. Let me go ahead and create a user num as integer, and let me get that user number. Just convert dot to string. To int 32, whatever is inside of the text box. And then really this is going to be a calculation slash output, because we're letting the sub take care of all of the calculation and outputting the results. So all I have to do is call that sub, which is called display 10 numbers, I should have said. And then what am I going to give to you? You need the user parameter. Well, I call it over here user num, so I'm going to send you user num. I am copying this and I'm going to paste it to here. And what are you going to do? You're going to create those 10 numbers and then you're going to output the result. So if I click start and I type in the number 7, so let's see here, it displays 7 to 16, which is exactly what it should do, because this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 numbers. And that's what this thing does. It displays 10 numbers based on the user input. What if I typed in the number 1? So as you can see here, a total of 10 numbers. So the idea here is to create a sub that has a looping structure within it to create those 10 numbers in an output variable and then display them to the label. And that's it. So this is Professor Robert Solis. I hope this video lesson was helpful. Have a good day. See you next time.